What is up, guys? It is Robbie K bringing you another post-review of Robbie's movie reviews. And tonight we're doing the first Purge. Now, apparently my pre-review only kind of got uploaded depending on the site. But today we're heading to, we're going to do the post-review now of one of the most controversial films to ever come out in regards to entertainment versus political madness. Now, again, if you haven't seen the first Purge series, you've got a long way to catch up, but long story short, imagine pretty much taking all of America's anger and dreams and legalizing any crime to bring it out, no matter how cruel, how cold-hearted, and how demented it may be. Now, we've had various forms of how people exercise it, and this one attempted to explain the origins of the Purge. So, as Robbie's movie reviews do, we start with the likes and we start with the dislikes. So, let's get started. In terms of like number one, the answer is that this Purge is definitely one of the more action-packed and suspenseful of the bunch. Not so much a horror element this time. It feels very much like the Purge Anarchy, an evolution of kind of an action thriller that interjected a little more character development in this one. As my hopes in my pre-review came out, we actually had some characters we cared about who kind of took various sides of the argument and evolved, which is always good when we have character development in it. So, you know, kudos to being able to really shed some light and bring some bite to a film that's often kind of very much into the kills, thrills, and nothing more. Absolutely loved the two main characters in regards to Dimitri as well as the sister whose name is currently escaping me right now. I know her brother's name is Isaiah. Anyway, not to go on the rambling, the two of them were very great characters. We had some comedic relief characters who really broke out the tension, some other secondary characters that worked well, and surprisingly, Marissa Tomei's character, one I thought was going to be kind of very unidirectional, even had her own twist and spin to the tale. So very happy with the way they took the characters in this one, breaking the mono direction for some actual expansion upon their characters. Now, you know, in addition to that, this is a great one in that it added one piece of an element I really liked. As I said, the Purge was pretty much complete with the first three movies that came out, and this one kind of signaled how kind of the things got started. It's a very minor component added onto it, but it's kind of like a historical feel of, you know, this was the first case and first incident, so it worked well. You know, in regards to that, if you're a big fan of rap, I gotta say that they did a nice job kind of selecting the different types of rap, hip-hop, R&B, the various genres. I can definitely tell that I had a few fans in the audience kind of rocking to the beat, as their seats were kind of moving up and down, back and forth, enjoying it. But, you know, outside of that, I'm trying to think if there was anything else. You know, I gotta give them credit. This was a Purge that, again, ran at a very efficient time. Managed to tell almost a complete story within an hour and a half is roughly about where it ended before the credits started rolling. Very good, efficient tale. Took a little bit of time to get to where it needed to, but otherwise the pacing was pretty fun and well done. And I gotta say, it really captures the creepy aspect of what could happen if the world ever legalizes this kind of stuff. You know, these directors and staff know how to create very crazy, energetic people, and, you know, I was very happy that we didn't get too many of the annoyingly arrogant and over-the-top characters that we usually see. For instance, in the third Purge, if you remember the girl who wanted her candy bar, censoring that word out, that she was a little of the cheesy, over-the-top character. And we did have our over-the-top characters, but nothing as bad as that. In regards to it, the action was on point. A little bit kind of like Die Hard and Equalizer meets kind of a gang thriller with a little bit of mercenary combat in there. It actually really rocked and supported the dynamic of the film. Didn't quite go into closing out some of the stories as well as I thought it was going to do with it. But otherwise, the action did very well and felt very supportive, if not a little cheesy. Now let's get to kind of the dislikes. First of all, the biggest part of it is that when you go see these movies, you gotta be ready for essentially a lot of mindless, very hard-to-stomach violence. And this movie is very famous for that. We'll continue that trend, I guess is the best way to say it. Yes, I know, I should have expected it. And yes, I know, you don't go into reviewing a Purge and count it as a dislike. But as a reviewer, you know, there's only so much of the carnage. I don't mind kills, I don't mind seeing it, but kind of focusing a little bit on it, especially given the minds that some people can take. It's a bit motivating in the wrong direction. You know, it works to do the point, but it went a little overboard in this case. In regards to the political messages there, you know, I think it's strong to definitely warrant and kind of make this an example, but this is going to rub some people the wrong way and perhaps boil the tension. So that's kind of a political dislike aside, so don't count that against the movie really too much. So that's more of a warning of if you're very offended in terms of a lot of political issues, then don't go see this movie because it's going to gear up some things. You know, for the most part, it's pretty predictable. The movie kind of follows this gradual pathway, and outside of hitting these paths and predicting technically the wrong way of doing it, I at least had down the two options and just had to guess which one was which. You know, it's kind of written in the stars as to what's going on. It's just all about who's going to make it to the end of it, to be honest. I kind of felt that some of the plot points at times were dropped after an epic build-up and kind of a creepy nature atmosphere. They kind of dropped a few of these things that they had been building up. Some secondary character relationships, some of the hardcore psychos that they were building up. They were there, but then they kind of dropped it. And while one of them kind of came to a full close and the other ones had these semi-closures, that was kind of where it was like, oops, we kind of forgot about it. Let's just hope that they forget about it. Or, hey, we got to messily take this down. It was trying to be shown off as convenient timing, but I don't necessarily know if that is how well it came off for me. In addition, there were some camera work choices that kind of didn't work for me. You always know that in The Purge, you're going to get those slow demographics of psychos and patriotic killers. Getting their nice close-up of smashing and chanting that they're in the right, and of course an occasional slow kill. This one did that, which I don't mind, except for the fact that then it picked these random intervals to just show other guys walking, and then interlude random music. The tactic gets old, guys. You know, a couple of times it works, but you don't really need to go bananas on it and take away from the other elements that you guys are trying to build on. That just wasn't my kind of thing. In addition, you had another antagonist that they were trying to introduce that was kind of sloppily introduced. The man with the mask, as I'll call him, and it's more of the man with kind of the black iron mask. It was a reference, I'm sure, that I got to go back and look at the series for, but I got to say I was very unimpressed with even his integration into it. Nothing that a general stalemate soldier could have done and led without the epic and kind of cheesy build-up. In addition, it's one of those movies where somehow guys seem to have like almost 100% aim until the time it counts, and that happened a couple of times. So, yeah, it was a little cheesy in that regards as well. It's just one of those components where it's like kind of either keep consistent or don't try to write them off just to try to build some very cheesy tension. So there's some stretches of the imagination. Yeah, shocker when it comes to the fact that, you know, the series is kind of a bit of a stretch of the imagination. I can't really comment on the language in this case because the language is actually pretty well balanced. One of the better R-rated movies I've seen. You know, I've got to say that outside of the graphic images and, again, some of those political moments that are going to probably piss people off in the wrong way, overall, you know, it's actually not as scarring as I thought it was going to be. But, again, don't go in there with a weak constitution or if you're politically fired up easily. If I have to say what my least and probably worst dislike of the whole entire bunch was, though, And this is not the movie's fault one bit, but in my particular viewing, I did not care for some of the audience members in there. For some reason, that had to be my biggest dislike, and that can't, again, I'm not blaming the movie for it. I'm not saying that movies like this attract it. I'm just saying, if I had to say the most unpleasing part of this experience, it was the rudeness of the audience I happened to be with. Though I gotta say that there was a very, my friend Darrell was there, and he was very graciously able to let me back into the row when I had to go to the bathroom. Anyway, I'm rambling. So, overall, as I get the car light out of my face, overall, I gotta say that the movie did its job. It is definitely one of those that's a little more political thriller, where the scariest thing is kind of the realism, but with characters that you kind of care about, characters you'll kind of latch on to, and a premise that at least kind of shows you the building up of it. Again, it's a movie that's going to be a bit of a stretch. You know, again, the biggest thing is you've got to really watch kind of how fired up you're going to be, accept some of the plot drops that they did and the interesting camera work that they wanted to do, and outside of that, I think you'll be okay as long as you can kind of stomach not only the creepiness of how realistic this could be if we ever gave it into the hands of a dystopian event, to even to making sure that you're going to be able to handle kind of the political fervor that's going to stoke this. Again, this is a modern age, and it's all about sparking people to speak their minds, which is always good, but also not tempering their attitudes or their anger when that happens. And this movie is going to be one of those that can potentially get a lot of people stoking on the internet to be on the two extreme sides. But outside of that, this is Robbie K kind of signing off. We'll have Ant-Man and Wasp pre-review tomorrow, and then post-review on Thursday. And then hopefully we'll get some more of those special ones that I've been working on. As always, I very much appreciate you taking the time to watch. And as always, please subscribe, like, and please share so we can kind of expand the views. I appreciate those who watch every single time, and for those who stick between 70s and 100s, it's great. But I'd love to try to hit 200, 250, so please, please share. Like, and please help me make this a reality to get even bigger and better. Anyway, guys, thanks. Bye.